Hello and welcome once again to Simple Groundwork and Diorama Techniques with me, your host and instructor, Bill Grigg. We're actually called this series the Model Builder Series, and parts of it are the groundwork building and the diorama building, of course, which I excel at here. I like to do it because I'm very happy with my results. I'm here with my trusty cameraman, David. Hello, David. I'm marvelous today. And Dave, what we're going to do today is I'm going to answer a few questions on phone calls that have come into some of the cable stations that we've been showing on, and cover a few of those things. And I had forgotten to do a few things that I want to mention to folks. So let us start out and let us start to learn and have a good time right here on Simple Groundwork and Diorama Techniques. This is the Model Builder Series. Now, we had a guy call. And he said to me, he said, listen, there's a million ways, and like I had said this to everybody before, I said there's a million ways to approach rocks and doing rocks in a train layout or a military diorama. And he asked me, he said, why do you cover your, help me, why do you cover your scribed styrofoam with the Kleenex? Well, there's several reasons for this. First of all, it softens the sculpt of the styrofoam. I should have brought over a raw piece, but everybody's seen that a million times. All you got to do is go back and look at a couple of old episodes. But you can see how the Kleenex has softened the sculpt of that. Then, number two, unlike using a plaster or a hydrocal, now this is fine in stagnant layouts. I shouldn't even say stagnant, I should say stationary layouts. It's fine in stationary layouts because you're never going to move your giant 10 by 12 layout. It's never going to move. But for military people that have a tendency to take their pieces to contests, the reason also that I cover it with tissue paper is because you can take tissue paper. Now what I'm going to do, Dave, is I'm going to drop this, okay? So if you want to, I'm just going to drop it. You can see that I can drop this and I'm not going to go to a show and have my plaster cracked because I hit a bad bump on the way to the show. So that's the answer to that. There's two reasons. It softens the sculpt. It makes the rock look very realistic. But on top of everything else, the main reason that I do this is because I transport my pieces to contests and I don't want to get there with my rocks cracking out. As a matter of fact, that submarine piece that I did not too long ago that Dave took some real good shots of. Thank you, David. That had that problem. When I got to the contest, I had put a little bit of plaster up in the corner for a little ground enhancement, and when I got to the show, I remember hitting the bump. I remember thinking, oh man, I hope that didn't do anything. And when I got to the contest, sure enough, that corner of the submarine diorama was cracked out, so I had to go find somebody with paint, and I had to do some quick repairs, and I noticed a couple weeks ago looking at it, it's cracked out again. So, tissue paper, facial tissue. Another question I was given is, where is it? Oh, why do you not have a good opinion of acrylics? Well, it's not that I don't have a good opinion of acrylic paint. It's the fact that acrylic paint to me isn't, I'm going to make up a word, manipulable. I can't manipulate it. I can't work with that. I'm not skilled in that. There are people that have got tremendous skills with acrylic paint. They do a dry blending technique and it's marvelous, but it's something that just eludes me. And also, I believe that acrylic paint, when it is cut and sprayed, sprays very heavily. So therefore, if I was on a piece that had, let's say, like an iron cross on it, or a car with, it said Belvedere in very crisp and clear molded letters, I feel that if you put on the acrylic paint, it has a tendency, because it's so thick, to take some of these crisp 90-degree angles that are in some of these pieces, and it kind of takes it and it kind of uses it in the corner of that 90 degree. You get that little Ewing in there, and I think that depletes the detail. So that's why I am an enamel person. That's why I sometimes, well, the majority of times, you'll see on this next segment that we're going to do, this complete kit build, that I do not prime. I don't believe in priming. I believe in having good, clean plastic, cutting my enamel paints with a lacquer thinner, and not priming whatsoever. So that's something about acrylics, and it really comes down to, it's because of detail. It's due to the detail. Another question is, someone said to me, why are you stressing to the train guys so much the difference between a natural and a painted groundwork, or as you train folks say, the scenery? Well, again, like I said, your train buildings may be painted. Your railroad. Let's go with the premise that these are. Your train buildings are painted. Your railroad cars are painted. The engines are painted. Your people are painted. All this. But then when you get to your groundwork, you have used one color groundwork, and there is no color differentiation between the one color of the product that you are using for the ground. It needs to be enhanced somehow. So that is what I am going to show you next, and we'll flip this right over. And as a matter of fact, Dave, I think what I'm going to do is I'll probably put them right up against my shirt, then you can get 2 close-ups of these, and I will hold them as steady as possible. Okay. Now, the first one here is, and I'll let you get in on, you tell me when you got it, Dave. We good? We're good, okay. Now, you notice, let me get my handy dandy pointer and get real, let me get real school-like in here. Oh, professor here. Now, here's the deal. This ninja here, he is painted. This is a painted person, and on top of everything else, this fence in the background has got paint on it as well. Now, my stone wall is built out of natural stone. It is not washed. It is not dry brushed. It is not enhanced in any way. I have used our old standard Buddy product that I have showed you several times, and probably sifted sand on the ground along with the hemp rope. Now, none of the groundwork is painted. Notice the difference in contrast between the natural ground, the natural hemp, the one color scenery enhancing product, the non-enhanced wall, in contrast with painted figures. Take a good look at that. Now, let us introduce number 2. Now, I'm going to put this down. Number 2, I'm going to stay right in the same spot. Number 2, if you notice, ninjas are both painted. Log is painted. One color scenery is enhanced. The entire groundwork is painted, washed, and dry brushed. The only thing that I notice in this entire piece that I will now go in and fix is I did not take the hemp rope and do any enhancement on the top of the hemp rope. This was built a long time ago before I came up with these techniques. But now that I've pointed these things out to you, see the contrast between this painted piece and the painted ground? See how they have the same reflectance, the same visual hue? Do you see that? Mm-hmm. Now, here is what I'm talking about. You can see, even though it's still a good piece, this piece here does not have the richness and depth that this piece has, because everything here is painted. Painted leaves to one visual hue. You do not have it here. It's contrasting over here, whereas this, it all blends together because there is the same type of paint on this. And then obviously when you get done with all these pieces, even this piece here, I take the clear dull coat, the flat matte dull coat, and I spray it all over everything, which again contributes to one visual hue, which gives you scale, effect, and richness in the piece. So there is the answer to that question. As long as you got a good tight shot in those, Dave?
Sure do.
All righty.
Okay.
So that's the deal there. That's the deal there, gang. Let me put that down. And let me go back to my notes. I'm cheating today. I'm reading off of notes. Oh, somebody asked me, what is the proper way to use this particular glue? This is really good stuff. It's a lot better than our old friend, the orange tube, which we have no control over. This, we have a stainless steel tiny applicator needle here with a very tiny hole in it. This is a cleaning rod that comes with it. You see where I store it to keep the tube clean. And now let me show you the actual proper way to use this glue and attach a piece. Let's actually do a proper attachment of a piece. And let me grab my Wildcat that I'm working on and its inner wing. So, got to see what I'm doing. Now, first thing you do, you don't take the glue and go whoop, 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 and bang, you're onto your piece. You don't, stay away from that. What you do first of all here is take your piece, put it in, install it, and now what I'm going to do is, and I might as well get my handy dandy pointer again, what I'm going to do is I am going to check the seam line between the fuselage and the wing right here at the wing root and see how this fits. You can see it's, you know, there's the gap. Now we put it in and we see how tightly, once I apply glue, how this will fit. You on that seam, Dave? Am I moving that around too much for you?
You're fine.
I'm okay? All right, so we push that in a little bit. Let me put down my pointer so I get my hands correct. Because I've taken this aircraft, let's show them the bottom real quick, Dave. Because I've taken this aircraft, and this aircraft is going to be crashed in a lagoon, I've taken it and I've rotted out the bottom. So a lot of times now when I'm handling it, it's very critical that I don't take my hands and stick them into some of these scratch built pieces that I've put in here and break them out. So again, I come down and I take a look and I want to see how this fits. Now, I am noticing a little gap right along this area here. Of course, there's a wide gap now because it's no glue, but I'm noticing a wide gap there now. To correct that, I can see exactly what the problem is. I have taken this wing piece and I have enhanced this wing piece. You can see how I've taken it and I've chopped it all out. I've actually taken the flap and dropped the flap. Now there should be some interior detail here within this flap, but I am not going to do that. And I'll give you an example of that. I'm not going to do that in that flap for the reason that this flap is underwater in this lagoon and there's going to be a lot of marine growth put up in here. So to do the extent of scratch building that's needed over here with adding all this ribbing, this is not necessary in this piece. But what the changing of this piece doing and me taking this piece and beating it up, you can see how I've made the edges look like they're all corroded. I took the lightning holes in the airframe and I took all the lightning holes out, and again I dropped the flap. And I think what all these enhancements have done is it has created a fit over here that I don't like. And you can see it if you want to get in tight, Dave. This is a good angle to get in. Get right down in there and you can see how the piece fits at the front of the aircraft but does not fit at the bottom of the aircraft. And you can see that. See how tight that is? Now, what do we do to correct that? This is really simple, 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 simple. As a matter of fact, I can see the culprit right there. Do you want a close-up on that, Dave, or no?
No, just a second.
Are you going to do that?
Yeah, I'm getting in there right now.
Okay.
No, we're going too fast. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you can pull out again because that's crazy tight. But there's one of the culprits right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a flat file. The reason I'm using a flat file is because this is a flat piece. I do not want to go on top of this with a piece of sandpaper and my finger, because I could change the contour or the flatness of this mating area against this flat mating area, which I do not want to do. So I'm just going to go in and hit that area right there. Now, you can also see that the plastic is changing color a little bit here, which is telling me that my outside edges are fairly flush, but I do have a darker stripe in the middle of that area, which must suggest that there may be some sort of a little recess in there. Now that doesn't hurt your fit, because your fit is going to go on the outside here. That's where you're worried about. So again, I will take that, and that looks pretty good to me now, and I see no other imperfections on this top surface. That feels good and smooth. Take off the sanding, the excess sanding, and now just for safety purposes, I'm going to go down and look at this, and I see something here as well. As a matter of fact, there's no way you'll never see this. But as a matter of fact, right here, the piece kind of does this. Get my finger there, Dave? You don't have to close up on it, but
no, that's okay. I like it.
Yep, the piece is kind of doing that instead of being straight out. So what I will do again is I will take my flat file, go on top of my flat surface, and actually put it up in the light so I can see it. And there it goes. It just went away. The little gap just went away.
Can you turn it around, Bill?
Yep, this way?
Yeah, just turn it around.
This way here?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do it like this?
Mm-hmm.
All right. See what I'm doing? Yeah, that's better, huh?
Yeah, much better. That's good.
That's what I'm doing. All right, now I see that that's very flat. As a matter of fact, I've got one solid color right there, so that's a very good indication that that is very, very flat. And as I look at the line straight across, it's stayed very flat. It hasn't gone and dipped down, which you can do, because a lot of times when you use a file, as you come off the rear edge, you have a tendency to, it has a tendency to do this. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Do this. See, that can be bad, because you could take this edge and round this edge out. Now you've got a gap you're going to have to fill. So again, I'm going to take a look at the entire mating surface, and I see another spot here. Let me get that so they can see what I'm doing. And you notice that I'm not using a lot of pressure here. And you know what, Dave? We might as well get in and get a close-up of the teeth of this file. And you tell me when you got that. Put it right up against the shirt here for a good background.
Yeah. Okay.
You can see that it's not a very, very rough file. No, it doesn't have any markings on it, so I can't say to you this is a 7.62 millimeter by 5 grams, I don't know. So anyhow, that's the deal on that. Now, once again, we take the piece. Just because we filed it doesn't mean I can put glue on this. We take the piece once again, and again, we dry fit the piece. And lo and behold, I have still got a problem. And I see where it is. It's down in the flap area. So again, I'm going to come down, and I am going to take this. I see exactly where it is now. Matter of fact, I think you can probably hear it. There's the culprit. There's the culprit. See, that's on that scratch-built piece that I cut and had to weld back into place with quite a bit of glue. And the glue attacked the plastic and gave me a problem. See, I wasn't worried about this because I'm going to put so much marine growth in this. I wasn't worried about it being a sloppy joint. As a matter of fact, let's get a close-up right down in here, Dave. Go right along that seam. You can see that because this plane is going to be crashed, there was no care taken in gluing that area. You can see the slop in there. It's terrible. But it doesn't make a difference because it's going to be all covered with marine growth. So anyhow, that looks pretty good. Let me get this one more time, and I'll do it towards you again. Exciting TV, Dave. A man filing plastic. That's all right. Go get myself a bag of popcorn and sit down and follow along. Sometimes too, folks, you know, if you want, and you know the show's coming on, you could get yourself prepared with a few things and follow along and do the things as I do them. Alrighty, once again, we are going to take it and we are going to dry fit. And lo and behold, yahoo baby. All right, let's get a good shot of that. Let's get a good shot of that seam now, Dave, with it. Look at, and you get good and tight in that seam, Dave, and just, you got the seam?
Yeah.
You can see, folks, how much better that piece fits with just a little simple sanding. That's right where I want it to be. And now, let's install it. So, how am I going to do it? What side am I going to glue? Well, for me, I think I will probably go to this surface here for the fact of there's a tab sticking out here, although it's not really going to get in my way, but matter of fact, I think I'll change my school of thought in that after I dry fit this. Yes, I am. I am not going to glue the entire interior on this piece here because I noticed after I install this piece, as I look under where the flap is open, I still have a bit of the wing root showing right there. Now that's not going to be a problem because there will be marine growth in this, but if I wasn't going to put marine growth in this, that would really be a problem if I had decided to drop the flaps in this aircraft. So I will glue this side here. And here is how you use this glue. When this glue is brand spanking new, the one thing that you do not want to do is take this bottle and tip this bottle and squeeze it because there's an awful lot of glue that comes out of this. So here's what I do. I take this, I take a piece of my non-absorbent paper that I use all the time, or wax paper, and I tip, and then Dave, get in good and tight in that, and they can see the little glue drop.
Can you do that again? Give it another drop.
Oh, it's right at the end of the needle. Can you see it?
Yep. Hang on. Okay.
You got it?
Yeah, I got
That little drip?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the deal, gang. Because this is such a small tube that when I touch this to the piece, I'll bring it down nice and slow because I've got to steady my hand. Capillary action will actually take this glue and draw it out on the surface without me having to squeeze. Notice how I turn the part. Also, you notice I'm working with the needle away off the edge. That way, if I make a mistake while running it down the edge, I do not go on top of my surface that will show and put a glue spot there. And again, I go here and out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this down and I'm going to let it cure for just a second, go inside the recess that will take the tab, and fill that in with glue as well. I have another glue that I usually use for this, but as of right now, it's MIA. I don't know where it is. Oh, there it is. I see it. Matter of fact, let's use it. Let's use it. What I've done here is I've taken the same bottle and I've taken one of the CAs or the instant glues, and I've put their applicator tip on it. And this is just a little bit bigger hole, and it gives me just a little bit more. Again, follow me down over here, Dave. What I'll do is I will take this, and again, I can see the glue come right down that clear tube, and there's the drip at the end. Come back up onto the piece and run the inside of this as well. Okay, now I don't have to worry about this curing up because the glue on this piece here has kind of started to cure up. And in we go. Nice and easy. You don't want to put this in too tight at first because you don't want excess glue squirting up between the two mating pieces. Okay, now you can see that I have taken this piece, pushed this piece in, and it's fitting very tightly. Very good. But what has happened, because I'm pushing so tightly, what has happened is, and I'll set this down so it doesn't wiggle, what has happened is, you can see the glue has squeezed up between the two seams. Now, your natural reaction, and everybody does this, and stop it. Stop it right now. People's natural reaction when they get this glue to pop up is, oh, I've made a mess. I've got to clean it up. Leave it be. Leave it be, leave it be. I cannot stress this enough. Leave it be. It is much easier to clean up glue that has dried than glue that is wet. If you start to take this little ball and try to clean it up, you could take the ball, beat it down, spread it out, spread it around, and now you're taking all this rivet detail that is molded into the plastic, and you're taking that and starting to destroy that because the sanding work that you're going to have to do to clean up this mess rather than this little tiny bead is going to be a lot more work and a lot more detail, decreasing your detail. I need to take a look at the bottom and see what's going on with the bottom. Bottom looks great. Bottom looks absolutely great, which makes no difference because no one is ever going to see this bottom. And there'll be marine growth coming out your ears. The forward wing root looks real good. And I can turn that around and you can get a shot of right in there. That looks real good. And again, let me tilt it down and maybe come to the side, and you can see again, there's a little ball, little balls of glue right there squeezed up between the seam, but my seam is really, really tight in there, very tight in there, which is exactly what I'm looking for. And you can see that the glue's still wet, and I can still push that piece in place. So there you go, crew. There is some answers to some questions. I wonder if there are any more other questions. Oh, yes, there are other questions. Yes, something that I forgot to do. Let's talk about decals a little bit while we sit here and hold this piece. Decals, folks. I've changed my method of decaling. You saw that how I put the decal now on top of the water and let the water wick through the backing, never touching the printed surface or the decal itself on the top. Well, a lot of times after you take this, apply it, blot it, put your setting agents on top of it, a lot of times with these modern decals is they will start to crinkle. Now, they will crinkle pretty bad. If you blot properly, you will greatly reduce the crinkling problem of your decal. But if it does crinkle, don't get all freaked out unless it really starts to really crinkle on you. And that could be due to the setting solution that you're using. You could be using a setting solution that is far too aggressive for the particular decal that you're using. If that is the case, then you can always dilute that down. Just start dumping water on top of the decal. Take a paintbrush, take your paintbrush and get your emergency going. And oh my goodness, oh heavens to Betsy, and I'm just, I'm wetting that decal and hoping that decal will flatten out. And I keep taking that water that I'm putting on and I keep picking it up because I don't want all that setting agent is aggressive on here, diluted. I want to get that agent off of there. So that is another thing about decals. If they start to crinkle, don't really get all freaked out. Believe it or not, you just 99 times out of 100, you just walk away and you come back and bye-bye crinkle. So that's some of the questions, and I hope I have helped you a little bit with those questions that you had. So stay tuned. We are going to now go into something completely different, and you will see that next. And now for something completely different. What I've been doing is I've been working on this Wildcat that I'm going to crash, and you can see how I've taken and I've done some enhancement on the wings here. And as I said, I took the fuselage, and I've taken the fuselage and I've cut it all open, and you can see that's where I just glued the wing on to show you how to glue. The reason there's tape on the nose of this is because there is rivet detail on this piece, and what I'm doing is I've put the tape very, very close to the glue seam, so as I sand the glue seam flat, I am not taking off any of the rivet detail that is adjacent to that seam. So that's why the tape is on there. But that's not what we're here for. We are here to teach you a little bit about scratch building. And here is what we are going to do. Now, because this plane has been crashed and sat for such a long time, most control surfaces on aircraft, this piece here, are covered in fabric. They're over a tube frame covered in fabric. While sitting in that tropical environment for such a long time, the fabric would decay and the fabric would go away, and what you would be left with, you don't have to follow me, Dave, what would be left with is an exposed substructure of your control surface. And this, by the way, goes, and you can stay right on that because I'll bring it over to it. This, by the way, goes right here. Yeah, oh, look at that, it even stays there. So I'll bring this down over here so you get a little background and crash that's not working. But anyhow, that's the idea, and that's what I'm going to do now with this piece. Let me use the other side. With this piece, which goes there, and you can see what I've done. I've taken and I've removed the surface. There it is right there. And that is what I'm going to do next on this next piece. So what I want to do is I'll put this away so nothing gets broken. Let's put the aircraft out of the way. Now the first thing I want to do for safety fact is, the first thing I want to do, you see I have 3 knives out here. The first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at the tips of all of these blades and see if they are satisfactory to safely cut out this control surface. And as I'm looking at these, I do not see anything that is acceptable. So here's how you change a knife blade, guys. This is very, very simple. On this particular knife here, this I don't know what to call it. This diamond plated area looks like a little diamond plated area. That's what loosens the collet that allows the blade to come out. And I don't want to take it out. And on this particular knife here, this end piece does the same thing. And I like this knife a lot, so this is the knife we are going to be using. You can see the blade just pulls straight out. That's it. Put it down. And I'm going to take a brand new package of blades, get into it, and take out a nice new, you can see how these come. They come in a little package. A nice new number 11 blade. And basically I'm doing this so I have a good cutting surface, but also I'm doing it for safety fact, just the safety factor of it. Okay, you take your blade, you put it back into your collet, you seat it, and you tighten it up. And you can see I'm tightening that pretty tightly. Now, where to cut? Let us start on the bottom piece for this particular piece I've already cut, which I think is here. Yes, it is. It's here. All right, so let's do this piece. Now, what I'm going to do is, I've got my cutting board. I'm I'm going to go down onto my cutting board. Now, I should show you this. You can see how on this piece I left the tip of the control surface. This whole particular piece right here moves up and down along with, boy, I got the drops, Dave, along with the moving control surface. You can see how this would, you can see how that would work there. You need to leave this piece here. This piece is going to get cut out later on and installed onto what you're going to build. But as for right now, that piece needs to stay in place. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and I got to turn the piece around to do this, folks. I'm sorry, you may not be able to see this, but I've got to do this precisely. And hopefully I can do this so you can see it. But there is an engraved line right here, and I go in with my brand spanking new number 11, and I slightly, see, my hand is going to be in the way. Let me turn.
That's better.
That's better?
That's good.
And I lightly score down there without using a straight edge for the mere fact that there is an indented line there that I can follow. If that was not an indented line, I would definitely be using a straight edge. Now that I've kind of got a line to follow, I can start to use a little bit more pressure. Now you can see it's already starting to break through here on the end. You can see how my knife blade, how can I show them this? How can I show this?
That's good.
Right there? You can see how my knife blade is actually into the piece now. And also you can check the bottom. You'll start to see it. A very light line will start to appear. And again, let's just go back and do this again. Now this line here has to be completely cut through. Why am I not using a razor saw to do this? The razor saw, and this is what I'm talking about, this razor saw, I don't want the width of this razor saw blade in there. I don't want to take that width out, so that's why I'm using the knife tip instead of the saw blade. I could use the saw blade down here on this, but there's a better way to do that as well without having to use a saw blade. But you could. Again, go back, and you can see I'm kind of cutting from the back, which is already separated, up towards the front. And again, I will check the back. Yep, I'm starting to get a good white line in there. You can start to see that it's starting to cut through. And as you can see, folks, it takes a little time to do. And again, it's just riveting TV. I'm going to actually go a different direction here. Don't do this, guys. Don't do what I'm doing right now. But I've done this a lot. And it's actually probably filming even better. But don't do it this way. Don't do it this way. Keep the piece around and don't do what I'm doing. Like I say, do as I tell you, do not do as I do. My students make fun of me constantly for doing things like this. Boy, and if this was a student, I'd be yelling at you. You're on TV, Dave. You're on TV, my friend. But I want them to get the idea, I want the viewer to get the idea that this isn't a wham-bam, wham-bam process here. This takes a little bit of time. To get through because the plastic up here is very thick. And actually, once I get a line in the back, I can take a straight edge and go in there. Dave, I'm going to have to swing this light just for a second, my friend. Just for a second. I need to be absolutely perfect on this. And I've got it right there. We don't shoot under this light, folks, because it screws us all up. That's better. You can see I'm coming right down that edge. Now, why do I have to get this cut out? Why don't I have to get this cut out? Because we are now going to go down the large edge and score. I need to come through that control horn. And as you see how I do that, instead of cutting it, you can see how I can get in there and kind of chop at it. Go on the other side and score that as well. And again, go to that control horn. Go into your straight line, line it up before you do any pressure cutting. And rock on that. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Got people jumping out of their seats, Dave, with excitement.
I sure am.
Yeah. Control yourself, David.
I can see closer than you can, actually.
Can you? I bet you can. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, I am going to, again, I'm going to go right into one of the photographic lights and just take a look. Yeah, I'm pretty good there. I'm pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm just going to take this piece and flex it down. See what I'm doing? And I'm going really slowly in case I've made any mistakes in cutting this piece here. I do not want that piece to snap off. I need that piece in one piece, and eventually that will get cut out. Very nice. Very nice, and out comes the part. Now you can see I've got a little line right there that will have to be cleaned up. You can see it's sticking up. Now that came off this piece here. I'm not too worried about that. Now here comes the way that you start to scratch build this piece without any skin on it, without any covering on it. We take a piece of styrofoam, and anyone that has built a stick and paper aircraft or a wooden train building will be very, very familiar with this technique. And you can see I've already started on one side of scratch building the tube frame. Now, how did I go about starting that? This is really, really simple, gang. Really simple. I take a piece of paper, white, piece of white paper. I take some wax paper, and I'm going to put it on top of it. But first, what we need to do is we need to take this image and put this image on this paper. Now, you can see I've laid my piece of paper down, and I've taken the piece that I just cut out, and I've taken it out. Now, what shall I do? Well, I just went and sharpened a pencil. I'm going to hold this in place, and I am strictly going to draw around it. So all I need to do is go around this. Absolutely make sure that when you do this, the piece doesn't move on you. That can be detrimental. Now, because this plane is crashed also, I'm not going to be real worried about that excess thin piece of plastic being gone. That's not going to concern me. If I was doing this and dropping the flaps on something that wasn't going to be crashed, that right there would be a concern to me. It absolutely would be a concern, but it is not because I'm crashing. So again, we come back down to the piece that I just drew on. Now we have to put in where the ribs are. Well, you can see it. Let me do it on another piece. You can see it right on the piece. You can see where those formers run through that control surface. This is the trim tab. That's the actuator arm for the trim tab, and there's the actuator arms for the entire control surface. So what we're going to do is we need to put these lines in. So I come back over to my piece, and instead of drawing the line, what I'm going to do is, and let me tilt this a little bit, and get up on something and tilt this a little bit. Is that good enough tilt, Dave?
Good, yeah, I like that.
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to draw just a little line right off of this line here, and one there. Then one there, and again, right there. And again, gang, boy, I'll tell you, TV doesn't get much more exciting than this. Forget car chases and gun battles and special effects, baby. Pfft. Forget all that stuff. This is edge of your seat. You can hear that old guy, Mildred, get the pickup truck. Let's go down and kick that boy's butt. Right here. Now what I need to do is, because of the trim tab, I just kind of need to eye this in. And how I'm going to do that to eye this in is I'm going to draw the pencil down that former line so I get the angle of that line, I guess is a good way to say that, and put it here. See, I didn't stop. See how I don't stop? That also, my hand is firmly planted. I'm not up in the air trying to draw this. I've got my hand firmly planted. And again, I don't stop. Okay. Now I go over here. And of course, this is the easy part because you can see the lines where they start and stop. Now, here's where the trim tab is. What we need to do now is we need to take a ruler, and this has got 30-seconds, 64ths, 8ths, and 16ths on this. So I'm going to go over into the 30 seconds here so I can get a very accurate measurement, and I want to measure the line, how long this control tab is. And that control tab looks to me to be 6, 7, 8, about 9:30 seconds. So I will move this off, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How sophisticated a way to do that, huh? And a little mark. Go to the other side. Do the same thing, and that appears to be, I need to put that down, and that appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's 7:30 seconds. Where am I? Make sure I'm on the right line. And go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now, we take and we draw this line through. Let's get off of, actually, I'm all right in this. Let me change something. Let me change this, Dave. It's making me nuts. Okay. So I know I'm going through, again, better safe than sorry. I'm going through on this line here. And you notice I go over it, and I'm going in on this line here. You can see the two little dots that I made, and I could have done it off those two little dots, but I like to be absolutely, absolutely positive. Then to mark in the trim tab, line up the two lines, and go there. Now to draw in the rest of the lines, so we keep our brain straight about us, I can actually move down the piece for you folks, and you'll see what I'm doing. This is not rocket science, gang. It's all pretty straightforward stuff. Now, as I come over to the trim tab, I line up my two lines, but to keep my brain straight, I only do above the trim tab. Yep, yep, yep. That's better. Can you hear the crickets chirping in Texas, David? Oh my goodness, gang. We having fun? I'm having fun. That's because a happy little squirrel lives in my pocket. Me and Bob Ross. David, did you ever see the Bob Ross episode where he pulled a squirrel out of his pocket?
Didn't have the pleasure, no.
Yeah, he was doing a landscape or something one afternoon, and yeah, that's what he did. He said something about, happy little cloud or something. He said, well, maybe my little friend, and up came this little baby squirrel.
Wait, I missed that.
Little baby squirrel, honest to God. Yeah, very, very, very amusing. Okay, now, crew. The Yawn Fest is over. The Yawn Fest has just begun. It runs from October 7th through October 31st, the Yawn Fest. Don't miss it. Okay, I'm taking this. I'm bringing over a piece of regular styrofoam. I'm going to put this piece down on top of it, and I'm going to cover it with that piece of wax paper, which has gone MIA. Here it is. Hello. Now, lay that down. Grab some just regular old pins. You don't need to go in the pin box, Dave. It's just, what do they call these? Common pins?
Yeah.
Is that what they call these? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Regular old common pins. Get it so you can work on it. How am I doing time-wise, Dave? Okay. Dave doesn't speak. He gives me the Indian hand signal. So my brave can attack at dawn. Okay. And now I go to my corners. I'm making sure everything's good and flat. You notice also I am positioning the pin at an angle and pushing it in. First he cut out a part, now he's sticking pins in styrofoam. This kid needs to go. All right. And now my drawing is secure. Now what do I do next? Well, I know what I'm going to do next. And how am I doing time-wise, Dave?
4 minutes.
Okay, getting close? All right. Grab my candle. Baby, you can light my candle. Isn't that a song by the Doors?
Light my fire.
Baby, you can light my candle. All right. Watch this. I can't even light the match. This is you're learning something today here on Bumble TV. Don't go taking the match and throwing the match into the trash can until it's good and done. Now, again, we are going to do the magic of stretching a sprue. Now, here's the thing about stretching sprue. I want to get this piece here to around the same diameter that I have in the piece that I've already started. And how do we accomplish that? Well, we do it just like I showed you how to stretch sprue. Go into the candle, roll the piece of sprue. This is from a tree that your parts come on. And give it a stretch, and as I look at it, I don't want to blow that out yet in case it's wrong. As I look at it, I'm going to try to do it kind of over the piece. Now, how you determine how much you're going to get out of this is how fast you pull the particular piece you've just done. This is no good. So we are going to take that. Once again, riveting TV, and we're going to do it again because I talked way too much. This time, let's just do it, and let's just do it right. Okay, there we go. Get that out of the road. Grab this. Take a look. That's about where I want to be. That's about where I want to be. I'm very happy. Now you notice also, I'm pulling quite long. Yeah, that's real good. That's real good. I'm very happy with that. Very happy with that. And get rid of the candle. Make sure this dries so everything stays nice and straight for me. And now I will take this. Have I got time to pin this? No, I don't have time to pin this. All right, we'll do that next segment. We'll do that as I come back and see you next time here on Simple Groundwork and Diorama Techniques with me, your host, Bill Grigg. We'll install that piece of sprue, and then we'll get really involved in another project that everybody has been clamoring, which I really didn't have any intentions of doing, but I guess I will do now due to my viewer requests. So thank you very much. Hope you learned something again. My name is Bill Grigg. I am your host. I am your instructor. My trusty cameraman Dave is over there, and we will see you again on Simple Groundwork and Diorama Techniques, the Model Builders series. Bye-bye.